The Rescue at Dawn Commander Ethan Blackwood squinted against the ruby sunrise of Altaris as he scanned the desolate landscape. The scientific expedition had been uneventful until now. Just another routine survey of an outer rim planet. That changed when his sensors picked up the faint distress beacon. Protocol says we don't interfere with local conflicts, his second in command, Officer Julian Reed, reminded him through the comlink. The Galactic Treaty is clear. Ethan adjusted his atmosphere suit and continued moving toward the signal. Noted, Reed. Stay with the shuttle. The source of the beacon lay in a shallow ravine. As Ethan approached, he saw her, a slender figure with iridescent skin that shifted between azure and violet. A sylph, one of the ancient species from the Andromeda sector. Her luminescent blood pooled beneath multiple wounds, and the insignia on her tattered garments marked her as someone of importance. Ethan knelt beside her. Can you hear me? I'm Commander Blackwood of the Terran research vessel Horizon. Her eyes fluttered open, 3 pupils in each, arranged in a triangle pattern. They'll return, she whispered, her voice melodic even in distress. The Vordax. Hunting me. The Vordax Empire. Ethan's jaw tightened. Known throughout the galaxy as merciless conquerors, they'd been expanding their territory for decades. Earth maintained a fragile neutrality with them, prioritizing scientific exploration over military engagement. What's your name? Ethan asked, already unfolding his emergency medical kit. Almaria. Her hand, for slender fingers with translucent webbing between them, grasped his arm with surprising strength. Leave me. Dangerous for you. Not my style, Ethan replied, administering a universal coagulant to her worst wound. Let's get you somewhere safe, his scanner showed approaching aircraft. Vordax hunters, no doubt. Decision time, Reed, he called through the comm. Prep the shuttle for immediate departure, and clear the medical bay, sir. Reed's voice carried both surprise and disapproval. Are you bringing a local aboard? The captain will handle Captain Vega. Just be ready. Ethan carefully lifted Naria, surprised at how light she felt despite being nearly his height. Her skin emitted a faint glow that pulsed with her heartbeat.
Why help me?
She asked as he carried her up the ravine. It's the right thing to do, he answered simply. The shuttle came into view just as the Vordax. Ships appeared on the horizon, angular black vessels that seemed to absorb the sunlight rather than reflect it. Reed waited at the shuttle ramp, eyes widening at the sight of Naria. Commander, this violates at least 7 regulations. Log your objection, officer. Ethan moved past him. Then get us out of here. As the shuttle lifted off, Naria gripped Ethan's hand. You don't understand what you've done, she whispered. I carry information. The key to ending Vordax oppression in this sector. Ethan looked down at her alien features. So different, yet expressing emotions he recognized: fear, hope, determination. Then I guess I'm involved now, he said, feeling the weight of his decision as the shuttle accelerated toward the horizon, waiting in orbit. The Vordax ships pursued, their weapons charging. Ethan knew in that moment that his life had irrevocably changed. One choice, one rescue at dawn, had just entangled him in a conflict that spanned galaxies, and looking at Naria, he couldn't find it in himself to regret it. Sanctuary and the Storm Captain, Diana Vega's face darkened as she stood over Naria in the Horizon's medical bay. You've compromised this entire mission, Commander. Ethan stood his ground. She would have died, Captain, and now we might all die. Vega gestured toward the view screen showing 3 Vordax warships approaching. They're demanding we surrender her. Naria sat up despite her injuries. I can leave on an escape pod. Your people shouldn't suffer because of me. Nobody's surrendering anyone, Ethan said firmly. The ship's doctor, Tomas Reyes, moved between them to continue treating Naria's wounds. The crystalline structures in her cellular makeup are fascinating, Reyes murmured. I've never seen anything like it. Vega pinched the bridge of her nose. We're a research vessel, not a battleship. We can't fight Vordax cruisers. But we can outrun them, said Navigator Freya Wong, who had been analyzing the star charts. There's an ionic nebula 2 light jumps from here. It would mask our signature. The captain hesitated, then nodded. Do it. As the Horizon accelerated toward the jump point, Ethan remained in the medical bay. Narya watched him with her tripartite eyes. "Your captain is right to be angry," she said softly. "I've brought danger to your ship." "What information do you carry that's so valuable?" Ethan asked. Neria's skin shifted to a deeper blue. Evidence of genocide. The Vordax have been systematically eliminating entire species that resist their rule. My people, the Sylph, are among the last holding out. She touched her temple. I have access codes to their primary weapons facilities. With these, the rebellion can strike directly at their military infrastructure. That's why they want you so badly, yes. Her gaze held his. Why risk everything for a stranger? For an alien? Ethan considered the question. Humans have a complicated history. We've made mistakes, terrible ones, in our past. Now we try to do better. The ship lurched as it entered the nebula. Emergency lights activated, casting the medical bay in a red glow that complemented Neria's shifting skin tones. Beautiful, Ethan said without thinking. Neria's skin rippled with patterns of light as sylph blush. He realized over the next days, as they hid within the nebula, Ethan found excuses to visit the medical bay. He brought Narya books about Earth and stayed to explain human customs. She told him of the crystal forests on her homeworld and sang melodies in her native tongue that made the air itself seem to shimmer. The crew remained divided. Some, like Reed, maintained a cold distance from their passenger. Others, particularly Reyes and Wang, were fascinated by her. On the sixth day, as Neria stood for the first time since her rescue, her legs buckled. Ethan caught her, their faces suddenly close. Her breath slightly sweet, like cinnamon mingled with his. "Commander," she whispered, her hands resting on his chest. "I fear I'm developing feelings that may complicate matters." Before Ethan could respond, the ship's alarms blared. Captain Vega's voice came through the com. "Vordax vessels detected. They've found us." Ethan's arms tightened around Narya. "We'll reach Nexus Station," he promised. "You'll connect with your rebel allies." She touched his face with her cool, webbed fingers. And then, he had no answer as the horizon shuddered under the first volley of enemy fire. Shadows of Betrayal Nexus Station loomed before them. Massive wheel-shaped structure rotating slowly at the junction of three major trade routes. The horizon had barely outrun the Vordax pursuit, sustaining damage to its port thrusters. "We can't stay long," Captain Vega announced to the gathered officers. "Repairs, supplies, and then we continue to Earth and Narya?" Ethan asked, aware of everyone watching him. Vega's expression softened slightly. Her rebel contact should be waiting. "This is where we part ways, Commander." Later, Ethan helped Neria prepare to disembark. She now wore human clothing, a simple jumpsuit that somehow made her alien beauty more striking. "I've never seen so many species in one place," Narya said, peering at the station schematics. "Will I pass unnoticed?" "Keep your hood up," Ethan advised. "We'll meet your contact in the lower markets." Less security there. Reed appeared at the doorway. "Commander, a word?" Outside the room, Reed spoke in hushed tones. "Captain wanted me to inform you we've detected unusual communications from within the ship. Someone may have contacted the Vordax." Ethan's blood ran cold. "A traitor?" "Who? Unknown. But your Sylph friend isn't safe here." When they returned, Narya immediately sensed something was wrong. "What is it?" "Change of plans," Ethan said. "We can't trust the normal channels." They disembarked through a maintenance airlock, bypassing the main docking procedures. Nexus Station's lower levels were a labyrinth of markets, residences, and shadowy businesses catering to those who preferred discretion. As they navigated the crowded passageways, Ethan noted the increased presence of security drones. "They're looking for someone," he muttered. "For me," Narya confirmed, her skin dimming to blend with the shadows. They reached the designated meeting point, a small tea house, owned by a three-armed Jurian known for sympathizing with anti-Vordax causes. "Your contact isn't here," Ethan said after scanning the room. Neria's skin pulsed with anxiety. "Something's wrong." The tea house's back door burst open. for Vordak soldiers entered, their exoskeletal armor gleaming dully in the low light. Customers scattered. Run. Ethan grabbed Neria's hand. Pulling her through a service corridor, they fled through maintenance tunnels, the sounds of pursuit echoing behind them. Emerging into a bustling market, they tried to lose themselves in the crowd. Ethan and Neria gasped, pointing upward. On the overhead screens, both their faces were displayed as wanted fugitives. "The rebellion's been compromised," she whispered. "We can't stay here." Finding a secluded alcove, they pressed together in the narrow space. Ethan felt her heart racing against his chest. "I can't ask you to come with me," she said. "You've risked enough already." Instead of answering, Ethan kissed her. Her lips were cool and slightly sweet, the sensation unlike anything he'd experienced. When they parted, her skin glowed brighter than he'd ever seen. "That was ... she began. "A human custom," he finished with a small smile. "One I could grow accustomed to," she replied. A new plan formed. They would steal a small transport and head directly to the rebellion's hidden base on Pyrrhus, the volcanic moon where Neria's information could finally be used as they moved toward the smaller docking bays. Ethan's CUM unit vibrated. A message from Dr. Reyes. "Discovered traitor. It's Reed. Get off station now." The betrayal stung, but there was no time to dwell on it. A patrol rounded the corner ahead. "Trust me?" Ethan asked. Neria's hand tightened in his. "Always." They jumped together into the cargo chute beside them. Falling into the unknown darkness below, heart of the rebellion. The stolen transport wasn't much a cargo hauler with minimal life support and engines that groaned with every light jump, but it carried them safely to Pyrrhus. The volcanic moon hung in space like an angry ember, its surface crisscrossed with rivers of molten rock. "The base is hidden within an extinct caldera," Neria explained, guiding their approach. "The magnetic interference masks life signs from orbital scans." They passed through layers of security measures, automated defense satellites disguised as debris, scanner fields that analyzed their genetic signatures before receiving landing coordinates. The rebel base surprised Ethan. He'd expected something primitive. But this was a sophisticated operation, with representatives from dozens of species. Affected by Vordak's expansion, Commander Urel, a tall, reptilian saurian, greeted Naria with reverence. "The bearer returns," he announced, causing a hush to fall over the assembled rebels' bearer. Ethan whispered. "A title," Naria explained softly. "One I didn't choose." In the command center, Naria transferred her intelligence to the rebellion systems. Maps of Vordak's facilities materialized. Defense codes scrolled across screens. "This changes everything," Drell said. "We can finally strike at their heart, the weapons factory on Delta's Prime." As plans formed around them, Ethan felt increasingly out of place. This wasn't his fight, yet he couldn't imagine leaving Neria's side. Later, in their assigned quarters, he voiced his concern. "What happens after? When this is over?" Neria's skin rippled with complex patterns. "My people have a tradition," she said, taking his hands in hers. "When lives become intertwined as ours have, it creates a bond, what you might call soulmates. Is that what we are?" Ethan asked, drawing her closer. "I believe so," she whispered against his lips. Their embrace deepened, transcending their physical differences. Her luminescence enveloped them both, creating patterns of light that danced across the walls. Morning brought reality crashing back. The attack on Delta's Prime would launch within hours. "You shouldn't go," Ethan argued, as Neria prepared with the strike team. "I must," she insisted. "The access codes are biologically linked to me. Without my presence, they cannot deactivate the defense systems." Commander Urel approached. "We've received intelligence that your ship, the Horizon, has been captured. The Vordaks know we're here. Then we need to evacuate," Ethan said. "No," Yarel replied. "We accelerate the mission. Strike now before they can prepare." He looked at Ethan. "You could use someone with your military training?" The choice loomed before him: return to Earth and the life he knew, or commit fully to Neria's cause. "Where she goes." "I go," Ethan said, his decision made, as they prepared for departure. Alarms blared throughout the base. Vordak ships appeared in the moon's orbit, launching the first wave of attacks. They found us too quickly, Yarel hissed. Another traitor? Narya looked at Ethan, fear evident in her eyes. If we're captured, the Vordaks will extract the information directly from my mind. Then we make sure that doesn't happen, Ethan said. Checking his weapon, they rushed toward the hangar as explosions rocked the base. Pyrus itself seemed to respond to the attack, as dormant volcanic vents suddenly erupted around them, standing at the precipice between safety and duty. Ethan and Narya faced each other one last time before the battle. Whatever happens, she said, touching his face. You've shown me what it means to hope again. The ground shook beneath them as they sealed their promise with a kiss. Promise among the ashes, the battle for Delta's Prime unfolded across both space and ground. Rebel ships engaged the Vordak's fleet, while strike teams infiltrated the massive weapons facility. Ethan and Narya led the central team, fighting their way through layers of security toward the core. The central control chamber is ahead, Narya said, her skin pulsing with tension. Once I access it, I can initiate a cascade failure in their production systems. They encountered heavy resistance at the final checkpoint. Elite Vordax guards with exoskeletons, enhanced by the very weapons they protected. Ethan took a grazing hit to his shoulder but pressed forward. "Cover me!" Narya called as she rushed toward the control interface. Her fingers already glowing with the access codes embedded in her cellular structure. Ethan held position at the doorway, exchanging fire with pursuing forces. Through the comlink, he heard reports of rebel victories and losses across the facility. The plan was working, but at tremendous cost. As Narya interfaced with the system, alarms blared. A computerized voice announced, "Critical systems breach detected. Self-destruct sequence initiated." "That wasn't me," Narya said, her eyes wide. "They're destroying their own facility rather than lose it." "How long?" Ethan asked. 10 minutes. Her hands flew across the controls. "I can still complete the upload disable their other facilities remotely, but we won't have time to escape." Their eyes met across the room, understanding passing between them. "Do it," Ethan said. As Narya worked, Ethan secured the entrance, buying precious minutes. His thoughts drifted to earth, the rolling hills of his childhood home. The lakes he'd swum in, the night sky he'd gazed at while dreaming of the stars. He'd found those stars, and so much more. "It's done," Narya announced, as the facility shuddered around them. "Every Vordax weapon system is shutting down across 3 sectors. Ethan pulled her into his arms. "I don't regret any of it." 5 minutes to detonation, the computerized voice reminded them. "There might be a way," Narya said suddenly. "My people can enter a crystalline stasis under extreme conditions. If I envelop us both... ... Would it work for a human?" "I don't know," she admitted, "but it's our only chance." They found a somewhat sheltered corner as the facility began to collapse around them. Neria's skin brightened to an almost blinding intensity. "This will feel strange," she warned, wrapping herself around him. The sensation began, as coolness spreading across his skin, then penetrating deeper. Crystalline patterns formed where they touched, gradually encasing them both in a translucent cocoon. "If we survive," Ethan whispered as the crystal reached his face, "I want to see those forests you told me about." Neria's voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "We will build something new together, human and sylph." The last thing Ethan saw before the crystal completely encased his vision was Neria's smile, radiant, hopeful, loving. The explosion tore through Delta's Prime, vaporizing everything in its path. The rebel forces withdrew, broadcasting news of their victory and mourning those lost to achieve it. Days later, recovery teams sifting through the rubble made an astonishing discovery: a perfect crystalline formation, undamaged by the devastation around it. Within, they could make out 2 figures locked in an embrace. When the crystal began to pulse with light, the teams moved back in awe. Cracks appeared along its surface, spreading in intricate patterns until the entire structure dissolved. Ethan and Narya emerged, forever changed. Where they touched, his skin now held traces of her luminescence. Her eyes, once alien, now contained something recognizably human. As they stood amid the ashes of the Vordax facility, representatives from both their worlds approached with caution and wonder. "A promise made in the ashes," Narya said softly. Ethan took her hand. "One human's defiance." That changed everything. They finished together. Their union became the foundation for something neither human nor Sylph had imagined possible. A future built not on conquest or isolation, but on the recognition that even across the stars, hearts could find their match. And in that recognition lay the greatest revolution of all: retry.